Kirk had spent a long time thinking about his decision. For months, he had weighed every possible consequence and tried to find the best solution for his son, Kannon. The decision had been hard, but it was clear that he had no other choice. The court papers were signed, and the request for full custody of his son was officially filed. Kirk knew it was the only way he could ensure Kannon's safety and a better future for him. However, he understood that the path ahead wouldn't be easy. Kirk had been trying to make things work with Jasmine for years, despite their differences. There had always been tension between them, and their co-parenting relationship had been unstable from the beginning.
That gate took like 7 minutes to fry.
Which is a good thing.
Somebody decides to break into Frost Bistro, come try to steal some money, steal the safe. Why not just do something in life to earn money and find something else to do? That's when they come out with the safe.
That's crazy. You know, it totally messes up your whole, like, your mental, you know what I'm saying?
Over time, things had only gotten worse. Jasmine's unpredictable behavior and frequent mood swings made it difficult for Kirk to maintain any peace in their interactions. More troubling was how she had used Kannon to manipulate him, playing on his emotions. It had crossed a line that Kirk couldn't ignore anymore. He couldn't let Kannon grow up in an environment filled with constant emotional turmoil and uncertainty. For Kirk, this wasn't just about a legal battle. It was about protecting his son and ensuring that he had a stable and safe future. Despite how much he had tried to keep things civil with Jasmine, he knew he had to take a stand. It was clear that Jasmine wouldn't change, and he couldn't keep allowing her to control the situation. Even though it meant confronting her in ways he never imagined, it was a step he had to take for the sake of his son. The morning after, he filed for custody as Kirk prepared for the day. A feeling of unease lingered over him. There was a certain tension in the air that he couldn't shake. His lawyer had called, as well as a few friends, offering only vague reassurances. "It's just a step, Kirk. Don't worry, she'll understand," they said. But deep down, Kirk knew Jasmine wouldn't understand. She never did. He had been down this road with her before, and it always ended in chaos. As the day went on, Kirk tried to focus on his work, but his mind was consumed with thoughts of Kannon. He hadn't seen his son in days. Jasmine had been keeping him from Kirk, something that had become a common tactic in their strained relationship.
Sometimes I feel like we can't catch a break. You know, we're in the middle of filing for full custody. I've been in court with this situation. Then, we get broken into. It's always something on top of something. It totally puts me in a bad space with even moving forward with buying more property. It makes me feel like we might need to rethink and pause on the next move. I feel all kinds of ways right now because it's like, damn. This being in the public eye sometimes, we just get targeted. Like, people just think, let's just go break in their house. They broke in Spice's house, they broke in Sierra's house, they came to my house twice. But at the end of the day, I'm just glad to be able to stay in business and provide great food and a great business for people to come to.
And what's crazy is this is something I normally would connect with Yandy with, since she's had incidents with her restaurants too, but it's like some shit in the water or something, because everybody's arguing, even Yandy. She came at me and Spice about some mess about Mendices and trying to act like I ain't have her back again. Crazy. Damn, Yandy. I mean, I ain't got no problem with nobody for real, but my thing is like, you gotta be mindful of that.
At least y'all used to be like, it was like cliques. Now it seemed like
everybody just doing whatever, all over the place.
That crew, I don't know what the happened.
After kind of like replaying this whole situation, I felt like if somebody is your friend, you don't come in on the accused. Whatever Yandy and Mendices got going on in their household that's trickling all outside, that has nothing to do with me or my husband. End of story. Sometimes, friendships change and...
Bro, like, what's going on here? Now, just take me off your radar. Don't come here with we got enough going on. I see Jasmine is recruiting. She's hanging around your girlfriend. We need to really, truly rethink.
Everybody. A bitch too old to be having to maintain and maintenance people. I want to protect my peace, and I want positive around me.
She tried to maintain control, but Kirk wasn't going to let it continue. It was just after dusk when the first knock came at the door. Kirk hesitated for a moment. He didn't want to face her anger, but he knew he had no choice. This moment had been coming for a while. With a deep breath, he walked over to the door and looked through the peephole. Jasmine stood on the other side, her face flushed with anger and her eyes wide with fury. There was no mistaking the look in her eyes. She was filled with rage. Before Kirk could even say anything, Jasmine threw the door open with a violent force. She stormed in, her fists clenched at her sides. Her voice came out low and full of fury. "You think you can just take him away from me? You think you have the right to rip Kannon from my arms?" she yelled, her words cutting through the air like a sharp knife. Kirk stepped back, feeling his chest tighten. This wasn't just a custody dispute anymore. This was a full-blown war. He had expected some kind of confrontation, but nothing could have prepared him for seeing Jasmine like this. She looked like a woman who had completely broken down, desperate and angry, as if she had lost everything. But Kirk couldn't back down now. He had to stay strong for Kannon. "Jasmine, this isn't helping. You're only making things worse," he said, his voice calm but firm. Jasmine's eyes flashed with disbelief. "You think I'm the one making things worse? You're the one stealing him from me. You're taking my son away from me, and I will never let you do that." Her voice shook with raw emotion as she shouted at him. Kirk tried to reason with her, to explain the decision he had made and the steps he had taken to make sure Kannon would have a better life. But Jasmine wasn't listening. She wasn't ready to hear the truth. She wasn't ready to accept that things had changed, and that their relationship, as well as her ability to care for Kannon, was no longer stable.
And Kirk now trying to get full custody of Kannon. Things have been going crazy for me. I really need support from my mom right now, so I asked her to tag along with me so that I can fill her in on what's going on with me and Kirk. Mommy. Hey, babe. I also asked Rod to meet with me as well. As a lot of you might remember, Rod was my longtime partner and the man that helped me raise Kannon.
Jasmine and I have been together off and on for about 5 years now.
Kirk is the father of Kannon. He's denying everything.
I don't know what you expected from him but that.
Kirk is doing all this because he's shaking in his boots right now. He's trying to discredit me. He's trying to make me out to be a hoe.
You brought him into our life, you gotta deal with the situation.
I'm going to deal with Kirk how I see fit. Already filed the paperwork, and he will be served. Rod views Kannon as his flesh and blood. Rod's picking him up to watch him when I have to work, like he's been there a whole lot. So let's get to it. You know, me and Kirk have been in this child support court situation for over a year now.
Right.
The first time I went through it, I kind of let it go because I let him convince me to.
Yeah.
And this time around, I'm not budging. He gives me $1,000 a month.
What? That's crazy.
$1,000 a month. I don't understand it. Like how?
And he's still battling me, saying, what 8-year-old needs $1,000? I thought we finally settled on the money amount a few months back at the Cyphers of the A concert.
So the amount of money that I sent you, that's the number you cool with, right?
Yes.
So we can end this lawyer.
Period. But typical Kirk backed out on our agreement of the amount that he was supposed to give me. So I had to take Kirk to court to get a reasonable amount of child support because $1,000 a month just isn't doing it. We had our preliminary trial, and Kirk is now trying to countersue for full custody.
Full custody?
Stop it.
I can count on my hand in the last year how many times he's seen Kannon.
I don't know where the delusion lies because he really thinks that he goes above and beyond. You just started getting Kannon that one weekend a month.
Kannon's with me 10 times more than he's ever.
Right. Exactly.
His delusion is just going above and beyond. Kannon calls that man Yaya. He don't even call him dad.
Daddy.
He calls me dad because he wants so bad to identify with a father figure.
Yeah.
And it's not making sense to him because I don't even see you, man. So, like, custody is nuts.
The fact that Kirk is going for full custody is up to me. Kannon doesn't even know how he fits into your family, into your life as it is. In my heart, I feel like it's just another tactic that he's pulling.
Most definitely.
To get away from paying me whatever he's supposed to pay me, or maybe he's trying to scare me into settling. But that man does not want full custody because he was offered 2 weekends a month and didn't even want that.
He's mad because you called him out.
Kirk is doing this because he's mad and he doesn't want to pay child support. But now he's not the only one that's mad. Now I'm mad. What he's doing by countersuing me for full custody is up. If he thought I was calling him names before, oh, you just wait, baby. I just feel like I'm at my wit's end.
There better be some kind of civilized solution.
I tried. I done chased Rashida around at one point. Now I'm not chasing Rashida around. Now her friends want me to chase her around and did that. Backfired. Rashida don't want to talk to me. Like, I'm done.
I don't want you to give up on it. I know the court might be the final say so, but at the end of the day, y'all gonna have to work this out. I just want for Kannon to have a good relationship with his father. I want for y'all to have a good relationship because at the end of the day, Kannon deserves that. At this point, they need an olive branch. They need something.
I'll never.
Wow.
Her breathing grew erratic, and in a burst of frustration, Jasmine grabbed a vase from the table and threw it at the wall. It shattered on impact, sending sharp pieces of glass flying across the room. Kirk flinched but didn't move. He couldn't afford to be scared. This wasn't the time for fear. This was a time for action, for standing his ground. But Jasmine wasn't done. Her anger, which had been simmering for months, finally exploded. She began throwing everything she could find, overturning furniture and smashing glass, creating chaos in the room as if she thought breaking things would somehow break the reality Kirk had carefully constructed. "This is my house. This is my family," Jasmine screamed, her voice growing louder with each passing second. "I won't let you take him away from me." Kirk moved toward her, trying to calm the situation before it spiraled any further. His heart ached seeing her like this. But he knew he had no choice. He had to stop her from destroying everything in her path, including herself. His eyes were filled with sadness, not anger. He knew this wasn't the Jasmine he had once loved. This was the broken version of her, the one consumed by fear and pride, unable to see the bigger picture. "Jasmine, stop! Please, stop!" Kirk pleaded, his voice soft but firm. But Jasmine didn't listen. The destruction continued. She was no longer hearing reason. All she could feel was the overwhelming sense of betrayal and loss. The anger was consuming her, and in that moment, Kirk realized there was nothing he could say to change her mind. Suddenly, Jasmine turned and rushed toward the stairs. Kirk's heart raced as he followed her, trying to keep up. By the time he reached the top of the staircase, Jasmine had already thrown open the window. The sharp sound of breaking glass echoed through the house, sending a chill down Kirk's spine. "Jasmine!" he shouted, his voice laced with panic. He rushed forward, but she was already at the window. Her hand reached for the latch, and with a final desperate glance, she threw herself toward the open window. It was as if she was trying to escape from the reality they both knew was inevitable. Jasmine wasn't just running from the custody battle. She was running from the pain of their broken relationship. Kirk stood frozen for a moment, his mind racing. This wasn't just about custody anymore. It wasn't just about the future of their son. This was about a woman who had fallen apart, unable to cope with the reality of their situation. He had to protect Kannon, but he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of sorrow for Jasmine, for the person she had become. The weight of everything, his decision, the custody battle, the pain of their past, was heavy on Kirk's shoulders. But in that moment, all he could think about was his son. He had to stay focused. He couldn't let this moment define the rest of their lives. He had made his choice, and now he had to follow through, no matter the cost. And as he looked at Jasmine, standing at the window, ready to make a choice of her own, Kirk realized that sometimes doing what's right is the hardest thing you can do.